De, che. 171 maximum power. I traversed the desert using roll while feeling an intense pressure from behind. I should have made enough distance from Adolfo and the ball rabbit by now. I'll head to the seaside while slowing down a little to attract the centipede in my direction. Gigi. That guy really is out of the standard. Since I am several steps behind the hero in terms of stats and skills, I was willing to try to defeat this guy. But I guess that thought was a little rash. Now I'm sounding timid. Even I was almost killed and eaten twice by that centipede. I know just how out of the standard that centipede is. I've been associated with this centipede ever since I got to this desert. So much that I can almost predict its attack patterns. Well, not entirely, but close enough. When I first saw this monster in the distance, I never thought that I would face it several times, but it ends today. There are three main obstacles I have to consider when facing the giant centipede. The first is the high defensive ability that is brought on by the centipede's characteristic skill, King's Shell. Then there is the high offensive power originating from its stats. Which leads me to the next and most problematic thing, the heat ray, which boasts high offensive power and range, so I've chosen to call it a centipede beam. I have to come up with a way to overcome these three obstacles if I want to end the giant centipede. I was able to come up with countermeasures to all three, but whether they work or not won't become apparent until we begin the fight. Now that he's in front of me, I regret that I had thought it would be easier. The simulations I'd ran in my head are different from the real thing. I last saw it when it had been attacked by the red ants, so my fear of the centipede had somewhat diminished. I take a glimpse back. I could see the giant centipede's face rushing towards me while scattering sand around. It's closer than I thought. It would be unreasonable to look surprised at this point, but it still makes me uneasy. It's impossible to win with my eyes closed, so I have to somehow get used to this feeling. I have to keep this fight within a short distance or risk maneuvering through the centipede's beam. I have to get my nerves in order and carefully watch its movements. Should I find a place with all the right conditions then fight back? Maybe I should just stop procrastinating. The last match will start soon. I could see a big rock in the distance. Okay, let's go with there. It would be a good starting point. It's sturdy and I can move it at the last minute if I need to. I'm still anxious, but a rock like that at this time will be hard to come by. If I miss this chance, then I may fall behind in this fight. I will lift the rock high in the sky and smash it into the large centipede's head using Nutcracker. It has the highest attack power among all of my skills. If this doesn't work, then the rest of my skills will not be able to damage its shell. Don't get cold feet now. Pay attention to the enemy's movements. If I make a mistake, then I'm dead. I jump up with the rock I am going to use to smash against the large centipede who's rushing at me. It's still doubtful whether I can do it before the centipede uses its beam. It takes more mana than I'll expect since the rock I choose is a little big. No, thinking of that guy's defensive capabilities, I should not be stingy about this. I put a lot of strength into pulling and flying when I feel a huge force weighing down on my body. I feel a slight impact as it hits me from pulling too hard and my head is rattled. Even so, I turn myself around and kick off the ground before jumping away and somehow managing to fly. This height, is this my limit? Can't I go any higher? If I push too hard, I'll just become prey to the centipede beam. I look and check for the position of the large centipede. The centipede stops moving when it's almost right under me and lifts its face. It's convenient to aim at your head if you do that. This way I can crush down on your weak point and shatter it. I stop moving in the air, turn the rock downwards, tilt my body and aim at the large centipede's head. The large centipede is opening its mouth up wide while looking up at me. Red light started gathering in its mouth. There is no doubt this is the preparation for the centipede beam. If it were to use a sand breath or a paralysis bite, then it would have been a bad matchup for this rock. But thankfully it's using the beam. Goo! While roaring, I push my wings back to increase my speed a little more. Make it in time, please make it in time. I'm sorry, but I don't want to fall prey to the centipede's beam this time. The moment I am about to smash the rock over the large centipede's face, the violent mouth of the centipede opens wider and the red light spreads out with it. I didn't make it in time. That's what my instinct tells me. Garua. I kick off the rock and fly to the side. The rock stops moving just before the large centipede's face. The next moment, a straight red line grows from the rock and then the rock bursts open. I succeed in landing on my feet somehow by shifting my altitude with my wings and using my tail as a brake. Damn. I was just about to smash his head to the ground.
gjord.
The large centipede shakes his head and pieces of rock fall from its face. Race, giant sand centipede. State, normal. LV, 64/80. HP, 459/463. MEP, 211-244. Fuck. There is barely any damage. Most of the momentum was killed. It will restore easily with just that amount of damage with its auto HP recovery. It's good that I didn't receive any kind of damage from that, but the situation also doesn't look too good. 172 head on encounter.
Kitcha-chicka-chicka-chien.
After I adjust my posture, I approach the giant centipede. In the event that I fail, there is one thing that I can do. I concentrate magic in my throat, target the giant centipede and shoot everything out at once.
Go.
The stagnant miasma breath assaults the giant centipede. It's a plague breath. It will take time for its effects to truly appear, so I can't rely on that, but it does act as a smokescreen. I think I'd go crazy if my skill level increased and I evolved, so I want to use Scorching Breath, but it's visible to the enemy. In fact, I've experienced enemies charging through without hesitation despite me using Scorching Breath to slow them down. For the giant centipede, a breath-like attack will not be able to penetrate its shell. With the Scorching Breath, the chances of defeating it will be slim. To begin with, my objective isn't to deal damage, so it's possible that it would think that this is strange and would slow down its movements by a few seconds. Besides, it doesn't seem to be that easy to raise the skill level. Normal skill, Plague Breath, has leveled up from 3 to 4? As expected from God's voice, San, you really did it. Your voice came right at the moment I show an opening. I really felt that stab coming at me. I really dislike this. Maybe it's just telling me to give me an update. I fly upwards from within the miasma. I kick the centipede's head, spread my wings, and ride the wind to gain some distance. Turning my back on the centipede that has shown itself by cutting through the miasma, I then used Roll to run away. The attempt to use the plan KO with the Nutcracker has failed. From now on its response will be faster. To begin with, if he gets some distance the moment I'm in the air and then waits for me to land, it's over. This technique is applicable provided that the giant centipede charges at me, sort of like a counter when at a disadvantage. It relies on the opponent's actions. My strategy to use Nutcracker on the giant centipede cannot be used anymore. When it comes to this, there is no other option but to use other strategies. I still have another method for this. This is also a counter which relies on the giant centipede's actions, though compared to the strategy for Nutcracker, it has a lot of uncertainties and it also possesses a high risk if it fails, but this is the only method left. When I need to prioritize escaping, speed and attack strength will become a problem. During that time, the important thing is how fast I can move. However, when my objective is to defeat it, defense will become a problem. The important thing is, can I smash that giant centipede's shell? Naturally, my options are limited. If I am able to smash that shell and am left with no other methods to attack anymore, when that time comes, there is no need to think about what to do. If this fails, I might die. It's possible to get killed. This time for sure, I will be able to remove that centipede. Kitcha-kitcha-kitcha-kitcha-kitcha-kitcha-kitcha-I. The giant centipede releases an unpleasant noise. Coward, come here and face me in battle, is the feeling I'm getting. Of course, to face it up front and fight it fair and square is something I would decline doing. If that happened, I would definitely lose. Why do I have to agree to a fight where the opponent has the advantage? But, because I'm getting tired or due to the giant centipede becoming enraged, the distance between us did not increase at all. Rather, the distance is rapidly becoming narrower and narrower. I cannot hold this for long. Plague Breath was supposed to have been completely absorbed, and I considered that Curse might start taking effect and that the centipede might weaken if I started an endurance race and ran away for a whole day, but it doesn't seem like I could do that. If the chase is prolonged, I will be struck by the centipede beam again. Whether I can dodge that, it is a game with quite bad luck. On the far right, a big hill can be seen. It fits the assumed conditions. Right, here I go, this time I will fight back. I intend to use up my physical strength and raise the speed of Roll all at once. A prolonged escape is not necessary. Here, I have reached the desired distance. Goo! I safely crossed the top of the targeted hill. Right, from this temporary strategic position, I should be able to hide myself from the giant centipede. I slowly decelerate and make a fast turn. I rush up the descending slope all at once. From the direction where I escaped to, turning towards the direction of frontal collision. With this timing, the collision with the giant centipede should happen at the top of the hill. It'll depend on my opponent's actions, but it doesn't mean that there is no chance to win. No, other than this method, I can't think of any other way to break through that giant centipede. That is why I have to do it. The melee skill of that giant centipede has two flaws. First of all, the giant centipede's melee ability has an unexpectedly big gap. I was afraid when I met it the first time and could hardly notice it. Its motion is quite big. At most, that part of the movement is fast. Even so, if you watch it carefully, you should be able to avoid the first hit. From there is a second flaw. Because even when the giant centipede has that huge body, its attack pattern is mainly focused around its skills. Normal skill. Poison LV5 de LV6 sans bret LV4. Clay wall LV3 paralysis bite LV2 acid spit LV4. Heat ray LV4. Spitting poison, breathing out a sandstorm, spitting acid saliva, a bite attack enhanced with paralysis, and attacking with a charged up mouth beam. I see, this guy can only do decent attacks with the mouth. Even if it has such a huge body. For everything else, the skill to dig and the skill to create a sand wall are creation magic. This stupid giant centipede doesn't have a skill for his main body. If it wanted to utilize its body, at best, it can only use the hardness of the shell and move at a high speed to bash you with its body. Even so, it is still a threat. The frightening part of the giant centipede is that it is able to fire danger from its mouth. It is much worse than the skill. In truth, it seemed almost helpless against the red ants that had flocked from the side. So this should work. When we collide at the top of the hill, I will provoke the giant centipede while dodging its one-hit attack. If it's a normal collision, I'll be easily caught and will end up in its mouth, but the giant centipede still hasn't realized that I am going the other way around. Facing against me who jumped out in a hurry, its reaction should be delayed a little. In the exchange of life, that a little is a critical thing. The lethality of the skill used will also increase. Because of the surprise attack, I have a good chance of dodging the giant centipede's attack. If I can get over its head, I can go around to the main body which has less capability to fight back. Starting from there it will be a critical period. 173, Giant Centipede. I speed up to regain some of the momentum lost from when I went the other way. GICHICHICHICHICHICHICHICHICHICHICH3I. As the giant centipede climbs up the hill, an unpleasant sound can be heard as it comes nearer. Immediately, the huge head of the giant centipede can be seen. The me who, until just now, was always running away suddenly showed up here. The giant centipede is surprised and stops immediately. Here it is, this is the gap that I was waiting for to attack. I smack the top of the hill with my tail and launch myself into the air to cancel roll. Then I extend my wings to fly up in the air. Together with the giant centipede, our eyes meet at the same height. Indeed, when looking from such a close distance, its presence is much more overwhelming.
Hey, scary, I'm scared.
Giumo. GICHICHICHICHICHICHICHICHICHICHICHICHICHICHICHI. Because I am flying, I fire off Bakemitashi towards the giant centipede's eye. If it is the eye, I think I can damage it. It seems unlikely to be able to withstand this. I would appreciate it even if it just temporarily weakens its eyesight. I fly in a path passing right by the giant centipede's head. I want to create a little more distance, but even if I fly about, I'll fall prey to the centipede's beam. Also, taking my next strategy into consideration, I'd like to prevail somehow with this relative position. 1. The giant centipede opens its jaw to the left and right and heads towards me to bite me.
Sky.
However, even if it is a paralysis bite, it has already been taken into consideration in my plan. This is a skill that is very easy to handle. When compared to a breath attack, it has no reach. Its power is unmistakably strong, receiving one blow would remove a person from battle. It seems like the giant centipede wants to end this with a powerful attack rather than to land an easy hit. It seems to hold an intense grudge. This amount of resentment is just right, it will be easier for me to provoke it. The giant centipede is eyeing me. Following my movements, it raises its head accordingly. As expected, its movement is fast. It is impossible to evade it using normal means. I will handle it skillfully. If I make a mistake, it will be instant death. I have simulated this scenario multiple times. If I can keep up in this state, how should I move around to the enemy's tail? Following that path seems to be good. Its jaws approach me. As I fend off its jaws with my wing, I use my tail, with my wing in between, to strike its jaws with all my might and propel myself forward using my wings. Gjord. Pain runs through my wings, but I was able to escape from its jaws. I did not go up, but instead head around towards the tail of the giant centipede. I have to withstand the pain. If I fall down here and stray from my plan, everything will be lost. I cannot be seen as weak now, rather, I have to look like I am calm and composed. Taking a glimpse behind me, the giant centipede is already twisting its body towards me. In my plan, this is where I let the giant centipede use heat ray to pursue me, but my provocation was not successful. When I passed by just now, I was planning to attack it. However, it deviates from the plan. I cannot afford more than what was expected. The centipede beam seems to consume a great deal of MP. All of this depends on that guy's mood. Damn it, I know that this situation is bad, but as expected, it is impossible. But there is no other option than this. This plan is crazy. Compared to the original plan, the chances of winning are like a thin thread. Although that is the only thing that I have been doing until now, there is no choice but to escape. At least now, even in this situation, things would have been different if I had a skill that can provoke the giant centipede. But I guess it's impossible. That guy's shell is too abnormal. Just a little poke is not enough. Even if you hit its face with Kamaitashi, there will be no reaction. No. Something, I feel like I am getting something. First of all, the damage will not go through, right? Perhaps I can use a skill which can do something to instigate it. There's only one, a skill that I never used before, whistle. Somehow I instinctively know how to use it. First I narrow my lips, then follow through with magic power and blow out lightly. The key point is to whistle. I never thought that this skill will have such a special use. I tried not to use it in the forest because it would have been troublesome if it had attracted monsters due to it making a loud noise. If that is the case, I should be able to draw the attention of the giant centipede. This is the last bet. With this, I'll taunt the giant centipede to use a heat ray. I turn my head behind to stare at the giant centipede's face and use whistle. Piu pi. Although there is a pause in between, it is loud enough to surprise others. Oi, this won't attract weird monsters, right? Ma, in this desert there is no one more dangerous than the giant centipede. Gichich. The giant centipede heaves its head up and starts to accumulate red light in its mouth. Yes, it is finally coming. Somehow I have smoothly achieved my goal. Oh, it is getting angry, it's getting angry. Ma, this is it should be like this. Anyone would be angry if they were whistled at right after their attack was evaded. That would most likely include me too. I would chase them to the bottom of the cliff in a rage. I rise in altitude and at the same time I slow down a little bit. I hang around the top of the giant centipede's tail. The giant centipede catches sight of me with its eyes and claps its jaw in excitement. It is coming, it is coming. Immediately it fires the centipede beam. You will not make it in time if you try to evade it from the moment you see the beam. From the moment the giant centipede takes aim, you have to move away. It must be subconsciously evaded. If it is this close in distance, it will be easy to cut off from the giant centipede's line of sight. It is not like the time when I was running away. This time I can fully focus on evading the centipede beam. Even if I am able to safely evade it, 5 seconds is my limit. I move my tail in the air to shift my center of gravity. I use my wing and tilt my body to move towards the left. This way, I will have moved out of the line of sight of the giant centipede. Immediately to my right, the centipede beam is fired off. I can feel an intense heat in my body. Even if it did not hit, this thing is already at the level of a biological weapon. To evade the centipede beam, I fly to the right in a semicircular pattern. The centipede beam is following me. Compared to a normal distance, it is easier to evade at a close distance. Nonetheless, with my strength, this is my limit for evading. Gyuuja. I breath out, plague breath, to cover my surroundings with a sinister miasma. 2. Now the giant centipede has lost sight of me. However, something like this will clear up quickly. I rapidly descend and land near the rear end of the giant centipede. I strike the tail of the giant centipede with both my claws, put my strength into my jaw and bite it. After bracing my legs on the ground, I kick off while smacking my tail on the ground. Gyuumo. Making sure my wings are spread, I shoot Kamaitashi directly below me. The giant centipede's back lifts forcefully. In the midst of the miasma, I can see the giant centipede. It is like a mass of light. I lift the body of the large centipede over to the place where the centipede beam passes by. As expected of the giant centipede. That centipede beam, if you take it on yourself, there will be nothing left. The shell that you are proud of will be shattered. After that, it will be sufficient to just attack the part where the shell has shattered. With this, I finally can properly damage you. Finally, I can feel like we stand on the same level. From here onwards it seems like there will be a fierce battle. Juddo, a short sound rang out. It seems like the body of the giant centipede is hit by the centipede beam. Together with the loud screech, the giant centipede's body moves greatly. Trashing heavily back and forth away from my mouth, my jaw seems to nearly fall off. It is a close call, my fangs which are holding onto it are almost pulled off. This giant centipede bastard is flailing all over the place. At this rate my entire head will be pummeled. Because I cannot see due to the miasma in my surroundings, I am not sure what happened. In conclusion, I wonder how much damage the centipede beam had dealt to the giant centipede's body. It seems like the giant centipede's tail has been thrown to the ground. I pull my fangs from the shell. I kick on the tail of the giant centipede to jump to the ground. Using my tail to reduce the impact and then following up with roll. At the same time as my body involuntarily reacts to the skill, I run away to gain distance from the giant centipede. Right after I left, the gigantic body of the centipede crumbles behind me. The giant centipede makes a scream-like sound. This time the sound is much louder. Well, but that sound, isn't it far away? Wait a second? Is there something weird? What happened? I raise my head to look for the head of the giant centipede. Towards the front where the dust has cleared, I can see the giant centipede with 1/3 of its lower body now gone, rampaging around with an overturned body. Dark green body fluids flow out from the amputated area. A large number of legs are wriggling violently. Its movements look painful and it seems to be suffering. It looks like a drowning person struggling to grab onto something. At this moment, the giant centipede's legs all look like the hands of a person. I shake my head to get rid of that creepy image. Apparently, it seems that the centipede beam strategy has worked better than I had imagined. It did not just crush the shell, it cut its upper body and lower body into two. Just how much offensive power does it have? At the same time, I am really glad it did not hit me. ワンロー、それに後の作戦のことを考えれば、なんとかこの位置関係でしのぎたい。2 Google Sensei's alternative TL, cover your surroundings with vicious mockery. 174 The end of the Lord of the Desert. The lower half of the giant centipede, separated from the rest of its body, thrashes about uncontrollably. Body fluids gush out from the separated sections as it squirms about randomly and hits the ground, gouging it out. Come to think of it, centipede, since your body structure is jointed, can you move around without a head? I expect that it will exhaust itself immediately. I'd be an idiot to get too close and be caught up in such a thing and to die as a result. Let me get away quickly. The problem is not the rampaging body, but the remaining half with the head. It should have taken considerable damage, but that guy is still alive. I should quickly give it the finishing blow. Race, giant sand centipede. Status, enraged, large, bloodshed large. LV 64/80. HP 132/463. Mepe 142 OU, it still has 1/3 of its HP left? Is this how your regeneration works? Is it treating its blood loss? Well, anything is fine. The giant centipede looks up while lying on its back, our eyes meet and it quickly flips its body over to prepare itself. It completely snaps. I am not referring to its body being cut into two, but it losing its temper. Again, red light gathers at the mouth of the giant centipede. It intends to quickly release another centipede beam. I spread my wings and fly over the top of the giant centipede. It was easy to gauge, because of the accumulated beam in front of its mouth and because I have an understanding of how long it takes to charge the beam, that there is nothing to be wary of. I immediately land on its back behind its head. From this position, the centipede shouldn't be able to hit me with the beam. The giant centipede shakes its head from side to side while firing the centipede beam, drawing a large line in the desert. Yash, use your MP in vain. The giant centipede then starts twisting its body in an effort to force me off. I kick off from its shell and fly, landing on the ground and using roll to dash through the desert. I will run away for now. If I run around, I can expect it to K.
Ooh.
From the blood loss. It seems a considerable amount of blood is going to its head, and there is no way to create any distance from the giant centipede. The giant centipede is pursuing. It pushes its way through the sand, scattering body fluids in the desert while pursuing. However, compared to its considerable speed before it was severed in two, is its speed still dropping? If I seriously hurry right now, I could easily escape. Currently, I'm adjusting my speed as to not escape. I periodically check behind me. Near the mouth of the giant centipede, red light is gathering again. Oi oi, the centipede beam fires too frequently. Is its MP not completely exhausted? It's completely lost its composure. I accelerate at once and turn left. I trace a circle on the ground, aiming for the back of the remaining half of the giant centipede. The centipede beam follows behind me, but I pull away as soon as its angle nears me. Beyond that, it is necessary for it to twist its body a lot. It will not be as fast as turning its head to aim. Aiming at the severed part, the place where there is no shell, I tackle it while maintaining roll. Gij3AA. Its flesh gouges, body fluids start gushing out with more force. It will be impossible with only a single shot, but if I keep on striking it with 2 or 3 more shots. The giant centipede raises its speed to get away from me. Of course, I stick close behind and chase after it. It seems the roles of the hunter and the hunted have suddenly been reversed. Giant centipede. Its speed continues to consistently drop. It's inevitable now. Giant centipede. Even though there should be a status abnormality, its HP is not going to decrease that easily. Your pointlessly gigantic body seems to be your downfall. There is probably no way you can be saved in this situation. That being said, I am also getting tired. At this rate, if I continue to deal with the giant centipede's toughness, it doesn't seem like I can hold out. I hope that it will kick the bucket soon. From behind, I tackle it to change its direction, leading it towards the big hill where the giant centipede and I had collided earlier. I accelerate at once to take advantage of the angle at the peak. While grabbing the giant centipede, I flew into the air. Currently, the giant centipede's weight has instantly dropped by 1/3 due to its successful cutting diet. If it weighs this much, it can be lifted a little bit. The body of the giant centipede completely floats in the air. Of course, I can't hold it for long, so it only floats for a few seconds. Our altitude drops quickly, the head of the giant centipede scrapes against the ground, and the carapace on its head is shaved off. As I am becoming unable to support it as I fly, I twist my body to overturn the giant centipede. Yee, yee, yee. An unpleasant sound comes from the giant centipede as it becomes weak. The movement of its multiple legs begin to slow. After all, it seems that it no longer has enough strength to raise its body. Race giant sand centipede. Condition blood loss large. LV 64/80. HP 7/463. Mepe no opt 244. Remaining HP 7? Finally, the Lord of the Desert lays its back on the ground. When I think about this fellow, I've had a long relationship with him since I came to the desert. I'd never held feelings other than hostility and fear for the giant centipede, however I'm now vaguely experiencing some other feelings. Minimal feelings were there. Giving it a quick death to end its suffering is the least I can do. I get onto the belly of the giant centipede, kick off from the carapace, and fly directly upwards. Pushing against the air with my wings, I aim for even a little bit higher. When I reach the limit, I tuck my tail, limbs, and head into roll and turn with full power. In that state, I descend aiming at the belly of the giant centipede. I will call this technique iron ball drop. God's voice san add the skill. I gradually increase in speed using gravitational acceleration and crash into the giant centipede's belly. 175 colossal experience points.
Dugong.
Resistance skill fall resistance level increased from 5 to 6. I receive a huge backlash from the belly of the giant centipede and my body is blown off. Roll naturally unravels in midair, and I end up with the front of my body scraping against the ground. I was prepared, but my entire body is outrageously sore. If it isn't enough, ending the suffering of the giant centipede isn't something I can do. I clear away the sand with my hand, open my eyes and look forward. It didn't break the shell, but it appears that I have made a dent. From the severed part of the giant centipede, its insides are flowing out more and more. 1,536 experience points obtained. As one would expect of the giant centipede. As expected, the amount of experience points is pretty high. Title skill Walking Egg, LV, activated, 1536 bonus points obtained. Is that so? Experience points were doubled. I was overwhelmed by the number 1536 and forgot. Thank you, giant centipede. I've had various grudges, but with this at the very least I can offer you much thanks. Evil Plague Dragon, level has risen from 44 to 57. Yash, I increased 13 levels all at once. With this the next evolution is near. From now I need to start accumulating good deeds. I wonder if there are any lost people somewhere? Not that there were many humans who could survive in this desert anyway. Title skill Big Eater, Giant Killing, level increased from 1 to 3. Title skill Pest Killer, level increased from 3 to 4. My titles increased too? Getting 2 rank ups is unexpected, you know. The giant centipede would normally win 10 out of 10 times. Yet such unreasonable successes were achieved multiple times. Characteristic skill Presence Sensing, level increased from 4 to 5. Oh, Presence Sensing also increased? Please don't. Dragon Scale Powder and Plague Breath, please don't increase. Speaking of desires, Flight, Dragon Scales, and Automatic HP Recovery, I'd be saved if those would increase, however. Is this the end? What with this, even though I feel like it always comes smack me when I'm not paying attention, it almost never strikes when I'm on guard. As I thought, it's not playing around with me, I guess it is God's voice San. I would appreciate the Wrecking Ball drop a skill already, okay? I am somewhat disappointed. What, is the name decided by me or you? I'm not certain. A Nutcracker was accepted, however. Well, that's fine. Should I check my status? I rush ya? Race, Evil Plague Dragon. Status, Normal. LV 57/75. HP 218/365. Mepe 162 256. Attack, 319. Defense, 241. Mana, 229. Speed, 212. Rank B. Characteristic skill. Dragon Scale, LV5 Voice of God, LV4 Girisha Language, LV3. Flight, LV5 Dragon Scale Powder, LV5 Dark Attribute, LV. Evil Dragon, LV Automatic HP Recovery, LV3 Presence Sense, LV5. Resistance Skill. Physical Resistance, LV4 Fall Resistance, LV6 Hunger Resistance, LV4. Poison Resistance, LV5 Loneliness Resistance, LV6 Magic Resistance, LV3. Dark Attribute Resistance, LV3 Fire Attribute Resistance, LV2 Fear Resistance, LV2. Oxygen Deficiency Resistance, LV3 Paralysis Resistance, LV3 Illusion Resistance, LV2. Normal Skill. Roll, LV7 Status Check, LV6 Scorching Breath, LV5. Whistle, LV1 Dragon Punch, LV3 Plague Breath, LV4. Poison Fang, LV3 Paralysis Claw, LV4 Dragon Tail, LV2. Roar, LV2 Starfall, LV2 Nutcracker, LV3. Human Transformation, LV4 Kamaitashi, LV3 Neck Breaker, LV3 Rest, LV1. Title Skill. Son of the Dragon King, LV Walking Egg, LV Klutz, LV4. Full LV Edjo Imfighter LV Nejo Pest Killer LV Nej. Liar, LV2 Evasion King, LV2 Spirit Relief, LV8. Tiny Hero, LV5 Path of Evil, LV6 Disaster, LV5. Chicken Runner, LV3 Chef, LV4 Mean King, LV4. Guts, LV2 Big Eater, Giant Killing LV3 Ceramic Craftsman, LV4. Boss of the Crowd, LV1 Laplace's Interference Authority, LV1. Okay, it rose quite well. Nonetheless, I still have not reached to that hero's level. Now what was the status of that fellow again? If I recall correctly, his HP was more than 600 and all the other stats were around 350. About the only one that even comes close to competing with him is attack power, huh? No, that guy was also holding a sword. By including the sword, would it not go to 400 or over? I still have to further raise my level. I don't think there are any fellows stronger than the giant centipede. And thus, there are many fellows of moderate strength. I guess, there is the red ant's nest. Too bad for them, I'm not going with just the purpose to destroy them. Since those red ants are also considerably strong. I can't go until after I'm prepared. The day is already late, I will join the ball rabbit after eating a little and gathering the monster parts, from there I should sleep. But, before moving.
Gyuvo.
Rest. Light wraps around my body's pain is slightly reduced. It is not necessary because I do not have any severe wounds due to automatic HP recovery, but I need to practice. When it is possible to recover only a little bit in case of an emergency, I'll raise its level to increase the chances of getting more evolution possibilities.
Gyuvo. Gyuvo.
Rest. Rest. As expected, restoration magic is good. Somehow it feels like my heart has been cleansed. It may just be my imagination. Normal skill rest level increased from 1 to 2. Yash, because I am an evil dragon I was worried that the skill level of rest would not increase, but that does not seem to be the case. CH-176 meeting up. While staying aware with present sense, I retraced the path that my game of tag with the giant centipede had led me down. I don't expect either the ball rabbit or Adolfo to have moved from where I left them. I can't see anything when using roll, so I occasionally fly up and look into the distance while proceeding through the desert. On the way, I rest in the vicinity of some cacti and come across a three-headed camel. As luck would have it I got both water and meat as a package deal. I mercilessly attack it with Kamaitashi so I could serve the three-headed camel as a present for ball rabbit and Adolfo. Sorry, three-headed camel. Here, the weak are meat for the strong to eat. On my third flight, I spot a dirty-looking swamp in the distance. That is the slug's territory. Nonetheless, when I saw it earlier on the way over I thought that it was a beautiful lake. So that must mean that mirage was dispelled while I was fighting the giant centipede. By any chance, are the ball rabbit and Adolfo over there? It became a good landmark. Even slugs are occasionally useful. Did they defeat the slugs with that in mind? Knowing the ball rabbit, it is possible. Approaching the swamp, ball rabbit and Adolfo come into sight. Looks like they made a water supply by purifying a section of the swamp with clean. Adolfo heard my footsteps and turned his head this way. You've come back? It seems you went to raise your level. Oh, hearing the word level from a human, I feel a little shocked. That hero also possesses status check, surprisingly it's more common than I thought. To be blunt, it's impossible. You can't catch up to him in just a few days. Irushia is strong. He was going fairly easy on me as well, but you saw how it went. Sure, he used some underhanded tricks, but even without those I couldn't have won anyway. Normally that would be true, but I have my double experience cheat from Walking Egg. If I go all out with enough force to destroy the ant's nest, even if catching up to him will be difficult, I should be able to take him down in one shot while he's being careless. However, it is tough to explain this to Adolfo. Also, I have to go through ball rabbit. If levels have been introduced, then maybe I should consider that the knowledge of skills have also become widespread? I don't have a clear understanding about this area at all. In that case, perhaps humanity also knows the true identity of Voice of God? Once things calm down, a part of me wants to examine that area. Therefore, leave it to me. You want to save that woman of the Beastman tribe, right? Irushia believes that I am dead. Once a great number of people are gathered in the town square, I can refute Irushia's points. If I succeed, even the church will no longer be able to protect him. We may share the same name, but I wish he'd stop calling out Irushia or repeatedly. Honestly, being lumped together with that guy does not feel good. Dragon, it would be better if you waited in the desert. I'll definitely bring her back, just watch. If that would settle things smoothly, I'd be all for it. Though that hero most likely won't leave it that easily. Even Adolfo marching into Harani on his own might be seen as a criminal brazenly returning and be immediately returned to prison without being heard out. We also need to consider that. To Adolfo, does it seem like our chances of victory are much lower in the scenario where I enter Harani? At that time, the country would fall into chaos, and if I look at it from Adolfo's perspective, he might feel indebted towards me. Whether or not Adolfo was there, wasn't that hero coming for me? But assuming I let him take responsibility out of consideration for his feelings, if it doesn't go well, I won't be able to do anything. Sorry for diving into a place where there are lots of people, but given the current circumstances I have no choice but to do so. GUWA. Roaring, I spit out the cactus and camel from my mouth. Because I emphasized speed, I switched between walking on 4 legs and roll while moving. I couldn't use my hands. Well, it should be fine if I pass it through fire. This is a...
Gyuyo.
Is this okay to eat?
Yeah, thanks. Pefyu.
Neither Ball Rabbit nor Adolfo react very favorably. What? Aren't you hungry? I'll roast it, okay? It'll be fully cooked, alright? I roast it with the scorching breath evaporating the saliva. Ball Rabbit eats it resignedly. Adolfo also seems to get over it and eats a mouthful.
Gyuyo.
I call out to Ball Rabbit. Oi, I've got something I want you to ask Adolfo real quick. Is there any place a beast man slave could live in peace? Ball Rabbit removes its mouth from the camel head it was biting into and turns towards Adolfo.
Pefyu.
Nina, in peace, place to live, where?
Nina.
Adolfo asks, tilting his head. Then he remarks, go, that young girl, and gives a small nod. There isn't. After all, I didn't expect there to be such a convenient place. Even if she's safely rescued, things are likely to become difficult after that. I hope I can disable Dragon Scale Powder when I evolve, though. Necessarily no place for her to go. It's a continuation of his previous line. Is there? What's with that weird, overblown style of speech? You got me all anxious for nothing. However, Adolfo seems to have difficulty saying it. Is there some problem with it? However, I don't think a dragon will be able to enter. Oh, that's unfortunate. But I was already prepared for that a long time ago. Adolfo continues speaking after seeing my reaction. Near Harani, there is a country named Ardegia. It seems that recently, Ardegia has been forming treaties with countries where lots of beastmen live, and since they'd benefit from an undisturbed relationship between their countries, they, unlike Harani, don't treat beastmen as slaves and are working towards their liberation. As for Ardegia, if they hear that she's an escaped slave from Harani, I think they would gladly shelter her. I see, in that case taking Nina there is an option. I have Adolfo draw me a map in the sand. To get to Ardegia from here, pass through Harani and proceed in a straight line from there. You wouldn't be able to miss it even if you started on the opposite side.
Gyuyo.
While you're at it, let's think about our future immigration too. Because after making an appearance at Harani, living out in the desert is also likely to become difficult. Somewhere with not that many people and plenty of nature would be nice. Since the desert has been quite arduous.
Pefyu.
Us too, future immigration, you consider. People few. Food tasty. Well, food is important, you know. Hearing Ball Rabbit's translation, Adolfo adds more to the map in the sand. East from Ardegia there's a large river, and beyond it there's an enormous forest. It's said to be a dangerous place where many heroes have met their end. I think that's the only place around here that satisfies your conditions. This area is dense with countries surrounding the desert. A forest along a river? Is it perhaps the forest where the black lizards are? It is said to be an enormous forest, the likelihood that they're related is high. There are hardly any people, it's just that. A dangerous race known as the Lithuver II tribe, classified as a demon tribe, is said to live there. I don't know the full details, I hear they are few in number, so it isn't likely that you will encounter them in that great forest. Well then, is that no good? But other than that, are there only places where people come and go frequently? I can clearly see soldiers being dispatched right away again. I guess it's the #1 candidate after all. And the stronger the enemy, the easier it should be to gain experience. As far as the others are concerned, you'd be going in the opposite direction. This way might be safe. You'd have to pass through a country in the middle of a civil war, but this. Personally, I think I'll pass on that direction. Is this world nothing but dangerous places?
One the original line was, まさにカモがネギ背負ってやってきたようなもんだった。Which translate to, it was exactly like a duck had come along carrying green onions.
It's a common Japanese idiom for a fortunate and convenient event. Since you make duck soup with green onions, the duck has brought the ingredient with it.
通路、リトベアル族。
Kuh. 177 The Ianians. The next day, I wake up beside the swamp. My fatigue is completely gone. We only have 3 more days before Nina is executed at Harani. It'll be difficult, but I'd like to be able to evolve either by today or tomorrow. For today, my goal is the red ants. On top of each red ant being C rank, there are a lot of them. It's just a mountain of experience points. As far as the potential experience points go, I expect to get more from this than I did from the giant centipede. Although even the giant centipede looked like it was on the verge of dying back there, when the ants crowded around it and drove it into a corner. It's obvious that if I foolishly jump into the ant's nest without some sort of plan, I'm going to be quickly mobbed to death. I managed to greatly increase my level yesterday, but my stats are still far from the giant centipedes. The most number of ants that I know that I can fight at once is 3. I don't know if I can take on 4 at once. And I'm almost certainly going to die if I try to face 5. If I manage to get myself surrounded by a horde of them like the giant centipede did back then I'll be unable to escape and I'll die. It's incredible that the centipede even managed to get away alive. I can honestly respect it for that. It truly is the lord of the desert. No, wait, I defeated it. Should I steadily defeat the ants as they come out of their nest to raise my level instead? If I evolve and my stats go up significantly, I might be able to just charge right through the nest of ants. But I wonder if I'll be able to make it in time then. If I'm cautious about this, I may become painfully short on time. Don't those guys move as a group pretty often? Oh yeah, now that I think about it, I did breathe the plague breath on them. I wonder if that weakened them? Maybe not, given the distance that I moved away from them after I used it that time, there's a good chance the curse's effect will have dissipated by now. Surprisingly, even this way of thinking might not be too bad. I seem to recall a way of exterminating ants from my previous life where you'd use poison bait. The bait would kill them all in a single stroke after they'd bring it back to their nest. Ants do have a habit of bringing food back to their nest and sharing it among their colony. We're gonna need a huge amount of meat in order to carry out this plan. There is that giant centipede that I just defeated. I can use its meat. I can strip off the meat from its carapace to make insect dumplings, then alter them with poison fang to complete my poison bait. Afterwards, it'll be good enough to put it near the ant's nest. With my poison fang being only LV3, I don't think this much will kill them, but I'd appreciate it if it did. What if poisoning them from a distance doesn't cause my level to rise? Maybe if I'm not going through the experience myself, it won't give me experience points? Back when I was helping to level the ball rabbit, I was getting fewer experience points than I expected, and I came up with a contribution-based point distribution theory. If I can weaken them with poison, I wonder if it's possible to take them all out at once? This plan will require lots of patience, and there's no guarantee that it'll go well. It's possible that the poison won't spread very well, and if they're weakened, I may get fewer experience points. Because I'll need to wait and see, it may only result in a lot of time being wasted. There is a high amount of uncertainty and time is tight. This is definitely a high-risk plan. And yet, because of that, the reward ought to be suitably huge. In the first place, there's no such thing as a safe way for me to level up rapidly. With Adofu and the ball rabbit accompanying me, I immediately returned to the place where I had defeated the giant centipede. We found one half of the giant centipede half buried in the sand. Wow, you actually brought down that giant centipede. That huge thing is split right in half. Adofu shouts in excitement. No, it was the centipede's own centipede beam that split itself right in half. I'll be troubled if you start expecting such feats of strength from me. I see hyena-like beasts that I had seen before gathering clothes by the giant centipede. Just like before, there are 8 of them. If I recall correctly, their species should be called Eonian? There are 2 large ones, 4 medium-sized ones, and 2 small ones. Of you? They appear to be in high spirits after seeing what's left of the giant centipede. Reacting just like Adofu, is it rare to see a giant centipede die by being split right in half? Nah, that's not the impression I'm getting. Either way, they have a pleasant atmosphere around them from coming across such a feast. Ianians, their flesh looks to be tender and they look like they'd be quite delicious if I were to eat them. However, seeing such innocence drained me of the will to attack. They're so family-like. That Eonian cub, it's so cute. While looking at the giant centipede with its big round eyes, it uses its front paw to scratch at the forehead of the centipede. Oh, that gesture it just made. I seriously want to keep it as a pet. Back when I was still a kid dragon, if I had squatted and rubbed my eyes with my hands, instead of waving them, even Daos might have come running over with a smile. No, maybe I still have a chance? I'll give it a try the next time there's an opportunity. They'll probably run away if I try to approach them, so I guess I'll just watch them from afar for a little while. The meat is not going to run out anytime soon, so they can eat if they want to. I'd rather refrain from eating the centipede anyways. I somehow managed with the caterpillars, but that thing? No way. The number of legs, does it have something to do with that? The caterpillars had a lot of legs too. Peffu peffu. I can hear the ball rabbit protesting behind me. No. Not move soon. Less food. Do you actually want to eat that? You may want to stop right there. It's just my narrow viewpoint, but I think it tastes like leather boots. I ignore the ball rabbit's complaints and continue watching the Aeonian family without getting any closer. Aye. The Aeonian cub manages to cut into the giant centipede with the claw on its front paw and gouges out a small piece of the centipede, giving the sample a sniff. Yes, yes, eat. I will hold back this little ball of appetite. It's a special exception. HGGCHHHISGU. The Aeonian cub sneezes and hides its face away. It rubs the paw that has a chunk of the giant centipede on it against the sand. The parent Aeonian shakes its head slowly, walking away in the opposite direction from me. The 4 medium-sized Aeonians have not yet given up and went up and sniffed the cross-section of the giant centipede, but like the Aeonian cub, they violently sneezed. After that, they spit it out and start following behind the parent Aeonians.
What the hell are they doing?
But why? I wonder if it smells extremely bad, that part. Though if it was that intense, they should have noticed it the moment they got close. Has it become rotten by any chance? No, it should be acceptable enough for a wild animal, even if it rots a little. In any case, it appears to be smelly enough to ruin the Aeonian's appetite. Is this going to be good enough? Will I really be able to bait red ants with this?
Kuh.
178 centipede dumplings. I approach the half of the centipede after the Aeonians leave. I place the tip of my nose up against the cut section and sniff it. It smells like, how do I describe it, rotten fish. Not enough to call it intense, but definitely like rotten fish. It would probably make someone vomit if they were to attempt to eat this. It resembles the smell of the slugs from the swamp. This thing is totally not something meant to be eaten. It's no wonder the Aeonian spat it out and ran off. The ball rabbit approaches the cut as well and licks it. It makes a face then eats some sand. I presume it's to get the taste out of its mouth. It would seem that it simply is that bad. I drag the half of the giant centipede to within the vicinity of the red ant's colony. I then cut open and hollow out some of the centipede with my claws and roll it up into a dumpling. It is as grotesque as one would expect it to be. I regret not being able to come up with a better plan. The smell is much stronger and disorienting. It is impossible to hold back tears now. The ball rabbit is reluctant to help me make dumplings, but it helps me anyways. It knows this has to be done if we are to even have a chance at saving Nina. Using both ears to knead, it expertly makes dumplings at a rapid pace. Its ears are precise and dexterous. In fact, it's making dumplings faster than me. I wonder, how many pieces should I make? If I recall correctly, the number of ants in a colony can range anywhere from a few dozen to millions, depending on the species. If the red ant colony's population is over 10,000, then I don't feel like I'll be able to rival them with my meager ability no matter how hard I try. Basically, it is said that there is a tendency for the average strength of an individual ant in a colony to be inversely proportional to the size of the colony it's from. However, I do not know if my common sense will actually hold true in this world. In the first place, if the ants' numbers were proportional to their strength, then the entire colony would hilariously be comprised of a single queen ant. When I first entered the red ant's colony, there were, 20 ants attacking me. There were also about 30 ants swarming the centipede. So, we've already confirmed 50 ants just from that short encounter alone. But since only 2 ants came to scout at the beginning, maybe 50 really is the colony's total number of fighting forces? Well, that's what I want to think it is. Considering the size of the ants' abdomens, I'm certain that not a single one was a queen. Since I've never seen them outside of the nest, I must consider the possibility that there are somewhere around 1,000 ants. Well, I'm gonna be optimistic and say that there are around 100 ants. So let's go with making 100 dumplings out of this huge centipede here. Oh crap, some centipede got in the gaps in my claws. Damn it! I can't take this anymore. They already smell like rotten fish. What if the smell sticks around even after I evolve? Oh, maybe I can get the ball rabbit to use clean on my claws to get rid of this stench. Adolfo doesn't seem to understand what we are doing, he just stares at us with his mouth slightly agape. What exactly is it that you're doing? Are you going to eat that? I want to tell him hell no, but considering there's seemingly no one else around to make these for, it's understandable that we'd be misunderstood. So Ball Rabbit, if you could explain, please?
Pefyu.
Poison dumplings make. You help?
Uhu.
Adolfo shows a face of disgust, but eventually he consents and begins to help us make dumplings. I was able to befriend Nina quickly, and I can order Adolfo around. This is all thanks to the Ball Rabbit's strong social skills and high-level telepathy. It's ironic to think that something called an evil dragon is protecting all three of them. From an objective perspective, that last one would be the most amazing. I guess you can't unreservedly judge someone's heart based on their appearance or the name of their species. After an hour of work, we finally complete all 100 dumplings. Adolfo and the Ball Rabbit's eyes look completely lifeless at this point. Mine probably do as well, but we did it. We finished making all of them. The only thing we have to do now is to carry this to the red ant's nest. At this point, it still smells strongly of rotten fish, but will the red ants really eat this? They look horribly grotesque. Even licking such a thing could induce vomiting. After spending so much time between the three of us to transport the giant centipede and to make dumplings, it'd be no laughing matter if it all ends up going to waste in this situation. That's right, just making regular dumplings is pointless. There's no point unless I use poison fang to add poison to them one by one. Each centipede dumpling is made by forcibly kneading the hard body of the giant centipede. To be honest, its body was overly tough, so they're pretty misshapen. Well, I guess I'll just have to bite into them one at a time. I can't think of a better way right now. I'm going to have to firmly bite into these so that they're soaked with poison. This thing already looks poisonous even before I bite into it. I've just got to tell myself that I'm going to be okay. No, I'm most definitely going to suffer by going through with this. I don't even have to bite into it to figure that out. Well, let's try eating one of them first. If I get some kind of anomalous status from this, then I won't have to bite the rest of them. I close my eyes and squeeze my nose shut with my right hand. I proceed to pick up a dumpling with my left hand and toss it into my mouth. Pipefyu dash?
And no way?
Why eat? There's a time when a man just has to do it, little peach Ball Rabbit. The taste of the centipede dumpling is clearly the worst. Even with my nose plugged, the peculiar rotten fish-like flavor was overwhelming my mouth. It felt like it was just trampling my tongue to death. Looking back, I have eaten quite a variety of things since I've become a dragon. Among them, this definitely has the most foul odor and taste by a long shot. It was the most awful of awful things I've ever tasted, the king of awful tastes. It was mysteriously astringent and it made my tongue recede into the back of my throat. I knew it, this thing absolutely must already be poisonous. I can feel the contents of my stomach starting to come up. I hold my mouth firmly closed and desperately try to bear with it. Can I just spit this thing out already? No, unless I try it myself, I won't know if these things are toxic enough. I swallow the dumpling in one large gulp and check my status. Irushia species, evil plague dragon. Status, normal. LV, 57/75. HP, 365/365. Mepe, 215 My status was completely normal. I guess I have to use poison fang on these after all. I eliminated every unnecessary thought from my mind and proceeded to bite into the centipede dumplings one by one. I feel like I could fall over at any second at the 10th dumpling. I'm starting to delude myself into thinking that they are delicious at the 20th. I feel like I have done 300 by the time I did the 30th. Normal skill poison fang increased from LV3 to 4? I'm approaching enlightenment at the 40th. My consciousness is waning at the 50th. I'm starting to see the other world at the 60th. Title skill guts increased from LV2 to 3. I somehow remember a saying about going through intense hardships at the 70th. The taste has become completely incomprehensible at the 80th. At the 90th, it feels like I'm just doing it out of habit. The moment I bite into and finish the last piece, tears begin streaming down my face. Normal skill poison fang increased from LV4 to 5. Level of title skill guts increased from LV3 to 4. I did it. I finally did it. With this, all that's left is to bring them all to the red ant's nest.
Kuh.
179 5 red ants. I scout around the perimeter of the red ant's nest to look for any ants. As usual, I'm having Adolfo and the Ball Rabbit wait on standby in the distance. The plan won't start until we grab the centipede dumplings and bring them towards the nest. The problem is that simply carrying the dumplings to the nest by hand is impossible. It's just too much to carry, but taking them near the nest would be too suspicious. I could try catching a red ant and forcing it to take a dumpling back to the nest. I can only pray that I can get my hands on a red ant like that though, so that plan won't really work. Honestly, there's a high chance that they'll just spit out the centipede dumplings like the Ianians did and just leave them alone. Rather, since they're poisoned, the possibility of that happening is much higher. If I were a red ant, I definitely would not carry something as disgusting as this back to the queen. It would be considered as lèse-majesté and I'd be beheaded on the spot. The nest would be filled with the stench of the centipede. Back in my original world though, I have seen ants carrying even grasshoppers back into their nest quite a few times. I can eat dark worms, but I still can't stomach grasshoppers. I think that even one ant carrying back a single dumpling might inflict some damage upon the colony. So long as it actually takes it to the colony. At this point in time, I can't just dispose of this pile of centipede dumplings. It's too late to turn back now. That centipede was truly strong. Even in death it still manages to inflict damage upon my very soul. It seems that I'll be tasting centipede no matter what I eat for a while. No, it's my fault for eating after all. I know that. While I was scouting around, I saw a scorpion that is about 3 meters long being surrounded by some red ants. I quickly ducked behind some rocks and observe. The scorpion was gray with 2 front claws, which are characteristic of a scorpion. As for the red ants, I saw 5. Included among the 5 is a red ant that I had previously wrestled with in their nest. Moreover, the formation that they took against the scorpion tells me that the fight is now over. The scorpion is already surrounded, there's no way for it to get out. Yeah, it's as good as dead. The 2 red ants standing in front of the scorpion take turns performing feints to direct the attention of the scorpion towards themselves. The other red ants take the opportunity to bite the tail and legs of the scorpion from its blind spots. As soon as the scorpion redirects its attention to resist the ants behind it, the remaining ones go after it. It's a dirty way to fight for sure, but it is quite effective. It keeps the damage to all members of the group to a minimum. The scorpion was flipped onto its back instantly. The red ants surrounding the scorpion begin to quickly chew it into pieces and it soon stops moving. It's survival of the fittest out here and there is strength in numbers. Well, let's take a look at its status. Species: Big Scissor. Status: Deceased. LV: 28/50. HP: 0/228. Mepe: 154/162. They killed AC rank monster in an instant. Well now. Hey. Should I really be starting a fight with these guys? One wrong move and I'll end up like that too. In their own way, they're stronger than the centipede. The 5 red ants pick up the scorpion and start carrying it off. 5, with that many in a group, if I charge in without any strategy, I might have the table turned on me. I just saw how they instantly killed that C rank monster, before it even had a chance to make a move. Sorry, but I refuse to make the same mistake as Big Scissor Senpai. But wait, isn't it fine so long as I don't get surrounded? Thanks to the level boost I got from defeating the large centipede, my speed should now exceed that of the red ants by a significant amount. If it comes down to it, I could also fly away or use roll to make an escape. If I fight skillfully, I can avoid being surrounded and mobbed to death, like Big Scissor Senpai was. Clay Gun is just about the only long-range skill that the red ants have. If I need to escape, it may be possible to use Kamaitashi while getting away. It will be a prolonged fight due to the automatic HP regeneration skill the red ants have, but if I can focus on one ant at a time and take their numbers down to 2 or 3, then I could take them all on at once. Alright, shall we begin? I fly out in front of the red ants as they're carrying the scorpion and fire off Kamaitashi. It's important for me to figure out how much of the ants' HP I can shave off now before I actually enter the battle. If possible, I would also like to take down one of them with this.
Kacha. Kuchak. Kuchak. Quacha. Quacha.
The red ants are panicking big time. Of course there's nothing else to expect. I didn't want to attack while they were carrying their food back to their nest, but this is nature and there is no entitlement to such conveniences here. It's necessary to grab onto every chance I can get and to have nerves of steel so luck doesn't just pass me by. Forgive me, red ants. 4 of the red ants simultaneously abandon the body of the scorpion, which then falls over onto the 5th one who failed to move in time. Gucha. While I don't think that a single scorpion is something worth dying over, it's great that one of the ants is no longer able to move. Targeting the closest of the 4 ants in front of me, I quickly release a Kemaitashi at it. Damn, they move better than I thought they would. They managed to avoid 2 of my attacks.
Yeah, don't stop now, Wings.
Now to send out the next to Kemaitashi. With this I should be able to instantly close the distance.
Quacha! Quacha!
The moment the 2 foremost ants bark at me, 2 red sand bullets come flying towards me. There it is, the skilled clay gun. I fly backwards in an exaggerated manner and avoid them. It is much easier to move around out here in the open than back in the nest where I couldn't move horizontally or vertically. Although, that's true for their side as well. When the 2 ants in front of me shoot, the other 2 ants behind them follow up with clay gun and fire at me as well. I fly further back, but they anticipate where I'm going to land and fire some projectiles there as well. Since it's unavoidable, I guard myself with my wings. Yeah, it seems that I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage in this shootout. However, the red ants don't have much MP. This is tough, but I should be recovering well with automatic HP regeneration. If I can withstand this shootout, they'll lose both their means of recovery and attack. Although it may be a dilemma, but it is also an opportunity. It's better to let them continue using clay gun than widening the distance between us. I focus on avoiding their clay gun and reduce my usage of Kemaitashi. But I'm unable to do that.
Quacha!
One of them makes a mad dash towards me. Well, that's just great. Go! With a roar, I launch 3 Kemaitashi at the red ant. It manages to avoid the first one, but the second one shatters the ground beneath its legs, hindering its movement. The third one hits the ant head-on and it collapses headfirst. Yes! Just as planned. In the mere moments my attention was focused on the ant that I just killed, the other 3 have spread themselves out wide. These guys, are they planning to attack me from all sides? When I try to close a gap in my defenses, they create another. It's a vicious cycle. They really are an unpleasant opponent to fight.
Kuh.
180 bullet siege. The red ants come charging in from my left, right, and directly in front of me. Since they're no longer grouped together, it's going to take more time to fire off a Kemaitashi to stop each of them. Don't these guys seem to cooperate too well? I hightail it out of there, occasionally turning around to fire off a Kemaitashi at them. I repel the clay gun that I can't avoid with my tail and wings instead. Receiving some damage is unavoidable. As long as I don't get hit on my torso, the damage won't be anything too serious. I also have Baresta now. The 4th ant, which has taken multiple blows from my Kemaitashi, gets up and starts running towards me again. Shit, guess I should have finished it off even though that seemed a bit excessive. A 4-on-1 shootout is going to be fairly hard. These guys, they have the nerve to use their numbers to their advantage to shoot right at my weak points. I'm struck with a clay gun from my left, right, and behind almost simultaneously. Ugh, in perfect sync? If I'm too eager and rush in, I'll be exposing too many openings. I skillfully avoid the one coming from behind me and deal with the ones coming from my left and right with my wings and tail respectively. The situation is not looking too good right now. Should I consider using roll temporarily to shake them and regain my bearings? No, I have a lot of MP and HP this time. If I simply continue whittling them down like this with hardly any results, I won't be in time for the day of the execution. Over time, this waste of stamina will hurt. There's currently quite a lot of space between each red ant. If I'm dealing with a single target, I can use a powerful skill to crush them. This scene could be the deciding moment of our bout. If I can crush just one, then only 3 would remain. The situation would improve considerably. Even though I'm going to take damage, it would be worth it to beat down one of them. I ball my limbs up and transition to roll. Believing that I'm planning to escape, the ants increase their pace. I swerve heavily and charge towards the red ant that's trying to cut me off from the right side.
Kucha!
The red ant fires its clay gun straight at me. Although I could avoid it, that would be time lost. The other red ants come running over. That will be troublesome. Increasing my rotational speed, I fling off the red sand bullets flying towards me. And with that momentum, I send the red ant flying. The red ant is knocked backwards considerably, and I hasten my pursuit. That's one hit. Now for the second. I follow up by tackling the red ant that is now floating in midair. The red ant's forelegs are mangled and part of its body is crushed. Gudgy! The defeated red ant spits out body fluids from its mouth, falling to the ground onto its back. I mercilessly roll right over it. 416 experience points obtained. Title skill, Walking Egg, LV- activated. 416 bonus points obtained. Level of Evil Plague Dragon has increased from 57 to 59.
Yeah, first one down.
Now this'll get much easier. Even though it couldn't be helped, I focused too much on a single ant.
Kacha. Kacha. Quacha.
While I was concentrating on bringing down the first red ant, the other red ants have surrounded me. It would seem that they're going to shoot at me with clay gun from 3 directions. The momentum of roll has decreased sharply after colliding with the red ant multiple times. I have to accelerate again and regain my distance. With enough speed, I can fling off the sand bullets and suppress the damage done to me. As soon as I attempt to increase my rotation speed, my body slips and falls down. Did the ground cave in? No, did they alter the terrain by using clay to shift the sand? Does that mean that the narrow vision and linear trajectory of roll is going to give me trouble? Should I use roll to force through my escape just like this? Nah, I think I'll try flying once again. I prefer it. As soon as I stop rotating, 3 clay gun projectiles come flying towards me with no grace period for me to get into position. I can't avoid them. I can only knock them down with my tail and protect myself with my wings. I point my wings and tail frontward and prepare to intercept them. Hold on, I heard 3 sounds, but there are only 2 projectiles? Despite that thought, I defend myself against the first shot with my wing and knock down the second shot with my tail. From within the shadow of the second shot, the third sand bullet appears. Oh, now you've done it. I put my arm in front of me and attempt to repel the bullet with my claws. However, the sand bullet slips over my claws, jumping straight for my chest. Go! I take a sand bullet to my chest. The shot has considerable power behind it, but I can't afford to lose focus. If I get distracted by the pain, then I'm going to be violently killed like a plaything. I'll end up just like Big Scissor Senpai. I kick off the ground, escaping from the depression in the sand left by the red ant's clay. Maybe it's because I overused my wings in guarding myself, but I can't fly as well as I usually can. It'll be all over for me if I lose my posture while in midair. I hastily land and hit the ground running on all 4s.
Kuka. Kacha. Kucha.
As usual, they've surrounded me on 3 sides while running parallel with me. I want to at least use flight to get out of this formation. One by one, I use a kamaitashi to repress them while I run. The red ants should be steadily growing weaker. They aren't shooting clay gun as much now. They're out of MP. It's because they kept firing off skills like crazy even though their max MP isn't that high. It was dangerous, but I can see that the ants will soon reach their limit. The ant that's running behind and to the right of me gets struck by a kamaitashi and collapses to the ground onto its back. I thought that last one was a blow that it could avoid. Was it at its physical limit too? 400 experience points obtained. Title skill, Walking Egg, LV- activated. 400 bonus points obtained. Level of Evil Plague Dragon has increased from 59 to 60. Did you die? You hung on pretty well. There aren't many ants that could take on a dragon to this extent. At least, I had not seen something like this in my previous life. Not that I remember much, but that much I can affirm. If such ants existed, Earth would be ruined. Well, there are only 2 remaining? I consider using roll, again to put some more distance between us, but if it's only these 2, I can beat them and win in the usual manner. I could take them out immediately. Species, Red Ogre Ant. Status, Normal. LV, 24/55. HP, 46/226. Mepe, 2/69. Species, Red Ogre Ant. Status, Normal. LV, 26/55. HP, 55/230. Mepe, 8/71. Yeah, both their HP and MP are practically gone. I want to limit wasting my own MP as much as possible. Should I stop attacking while running away and instead try to finish them at once? 1 Kelpie's HQTL, something something 1 shot something. Also Kelpie, 1 PUNCH.